This underneath here is something seriously special. Now, usually I show you what we're going to be building. This time, no, you're not going to see it because it's absolutely gorgeous. It's the nicest PC I have ever built on this channel, hands down. And I'm also going to show you how you can actually save money and a lot of mistakes I'm making on purpose so you don't have to when building this PC. One day when we sell PCs on our technoticestore.com, I'm hoping we're going to sell PCs like that. As you can see, this leg is one big giveaway what this PC is going to be looking like. Amazon Music Unlimited. I'll give you the best news from the get-go. If you sign up for the Amazon Music free trial through the links in the description below, you don't just get 1 month free trial, not 2, not 3, but 4-month free trial of Amazon Music. This is limited time only, so act fast through the links in the description below. So Amazon Music has over 100 million songs and podcasts, so whatever you're looking for, they've got it. Listen anywhere, offline and online, ad-free. Now you can also use your Alexa devices to voice command Ask Alexa to play any song or podcast you want. We find it especially convenient when cooking in the kitchen. So sign up for the free trial right now through the links below and get 4 months for free. Limited time only, so act fast. So we're gonna start with the motherboard. This is the ProArt B760 Creator. Now this is the B chipset of the ProArt motherboard. There is a few versions of this exact B760. There is the Creator one here, then there's Creator Wi-Fi, and then there's Creator D4. D4 means DDR4, so if you want to save some money and you have a lot of DDR4 lying around, go with DDR4. This one is DDR5 but without Wi-Fi, but I would actually recommend the Wi-Fi version if you're gonna go with this motherboard, because Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, these are the things that you really want to have built in with your motherboard, because when you're expanding or adding them, it's not so good because you're actually going to pay more for it. If you think about the price for included in the motherboard, you'll usually get a better one. But the only downside when getting a motherboard that's got it built in, the Asus ones, you can't change them. Gigabyte and some other manufacturers have like an actual Wi-Fi chip that you can replace, you know, to upgrade to Wi-Fi 7, for example, in the end. But on Asus, you can't. By the way, when you buy ProArt products from Asus, you actually get, well, they don't say that in here, you get 3 months Adobe Creative Cloud for free, which means that if you already use the Creative Cloud, every month you have to pay $60 or something like that anyway. Then now, for 3 months, you don't have to pay when getting this one. And this is why I actually got this motherboard, because I thought I'm already using Creative Cloud. I looked at this motherboard on Amazon and I thought if I take the Creative Cloud off, this motherboard is going to cost me about $20 or something like that. And to make a video about this, I thought it's worth it. The awesome thing about Asus motherboards is it looks so beautiful. I love this black and gold design. I think this is like one of the best designs you can have on a motherboard. It's absolutely gorgeous. And as you can see on this motherboard, you actually have a Wi-Fi slot in here, M.2 Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card, so you can put it in here. I believe if it's built in on this one, maybe not either. Maybe it is. Let me double check. Yeah, it's true. If the Wi-Fi is built in, then it's actually going to be on the side there, and you're not going to be able to change the Wi-Fi card because it will be soldered onto the motherboard. But this one, you can add it here, and perhaps that might be good, because if you do want Wi-Fi 7, you can easily add this one in here. So think about the motherboard choice when getting the motherboard. Perhaps you even want the Z790 version of this, because you'll have more M.2 slots, you've got Wi-Fi built in, you've got 10 gigabit Ethernet. When you add all these things together, minus the Creative Cloud membership, the Z790 might not even cost that much. That's one of the big differences about creator and gaming motherboards, is creators might actually need to spend a little bit more on the motherboard because they do need more M.2 storage. They do need the fast connectivity and the ports that the more expensive motherboards offer. Let's get our CPU installed. For the CPU, we're going to be using the 14600K, and if I was you, I would not do that. And you might be saying, well, why are you doing that if you don't recommend other people to do that? Well, there's a very simple reason for that. The 14600K and the 13600K, they have like few percent difference between their performance, but there is not a few percent price difference. The price difference is much bigger. So my recommendation would be skip the 14th gen. Like, that's the golden rule for 14th gen. Skip 14th gen. Don't buy 14th gen, but buy 13th gen. The only one that kind of is reasonable and maybe worth considering is the 14700K if the 13700K is very close to the price of the 14700K, because 14700K actually has core increase. i5 14600K and 14900K have no core increases. So actually getting that, you're really gonna get like 2-3% performance increase, maybe, or maybe not. There's hardly any difference, but we're going to be using this so that you don't have to make that mistake. Next of all, for RAM, we're going to be installing something absolutely beautiful. This is the Team Group T-Create Expert DDR5, and I have here the 64 gigabyte modules. So you have two 35 gigabyte sticks. They also offer a 96 gigabyte kits, and when you get them, you can actually get 192 gigabytes in total if you need that as a creator. Now, obviously, gamers don't need that, and that's why this is a lot different for creators. But there is another thing to consider. Now, as you can see, this RAM kit runs at 6,000 mega transfers per second. And if you install just 64 gigabytes, it's completely fine. When we install 128 gigabytes, there is a 90% chance, I'd probably say 95% chance, that you're not going to be able to run them at 6,000 megahertz. Now, you might be able to if you get a very good silicon lottery and you're able to just run those at that speed, but most likely you're not. In my experience, I'm running the 13900K. I am running 128 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm nowhere near 6,000 mega transfers per second. The IMC of 13900K, or the 13th gen, is rated at 5,600 mega transfers per second, but I'm not even getting that. I might get a post, but whenever the RAM capacity fills up, when I'm actually using it in Premiere Pro, it just crashes and the RAM is not stable at that speed. I have found a stable speed at 5,000 mega transfers per second with 128 gigabytes. So when you're buying these kits and you see the fast speeds and you think, oh, I'm gonna get 128 gigabytes or 192 gigabytes and I'm gonna run them at super fast speeds. For example, if you look at the 96 gigabyte kit, it offers 68 mega transfers speeds, which is even faster speed. You think, wow, I'm gonna get 192 gigabytes with 6,800 mega transfers per second speed. No, you're not. If you have two DIMM sticks or like two channels installed, so perhaps you only need 96 gigabytes, then yeah, you might be getting 6,800 mega transfers per second. But with 4 sticks, the motherboard has to split the channels and you're not going to get that. So my advice here would be, don't spend loads more on a RAM that has fast memory speeds when you know you're not going to run them, or just figure out a 2 DIMM kit that has the capacity you'd want, because then you will be able to reach those speeds. But right now, we're gonna get these bad boys, beautiful things, installed. Look how nice they are. Like, they just fit into this. I think they must have co-designed them, because look, the gold is very, very similar gold and all that. So these are gonna go get installed here. Oh yeah, baby. How beautiful does this look? If you don't like this, there's something wrong with you. Please, we need more beautiful, beautiful PC designs like that. Now, when removing this M.2, it's slightly awkward because it goes kind of underneath there as well a little bit. So for the top M.2 slot, we're going to be installing Solidigm P41 Plus. So this is one of those drives that's actually very, very affordable. 1 terabyte, single-sided. I should actually get a little sticker, a square sticker from the motherboard box to put it in there, because when you have a single-sided, like there's nothing underneath here, this would actually prevent it from bending. But you know, you don't make that mistake. You do that. I am going to make the mistake, all right? But getting this is not a mistake. This is a very good, like a budget kind of mid-range Gen 4 NVMe. It has very good random read and write speed, so it's good for OS. Perhaps not so good with some of the project drives, but still good in terms of the price. But if you have a project drive and you're handling massive files, you know, loads of random and big files, sequential read and write speed, this might not be the best by 4 OS drive. It's absolutely fantastic. For the project drive, we're going to be using Samsung 990 Pro, which almost seems like I'm doing this upside down. And in a way, perhaps, but it does make sense because the 990 Pro is very good at keeping the speeds when fully utilized and when you have big files, and it's got very, very fast speeds. So it's a great project drive as well as OS drive. But I think the Solidigm for the price is much better here. So if you want like a more affordable OS drive, I highly recommend checking out P41 Plus or the P44 Pro. That's even better than the Samsung 990 Pro. You might be saying, why don't you put the drive in there? Well, firstly, because there's no heating on top and I'd like to keep my M.2s cool. But also, this slot in here is PCIe Gen 3 X4. So I'm not gonna get all the Samsung 990 Pro speeds in there. Now, our motherboard is pretty much ready. Now what we have to do is actually get the cooler prepped in here. So we're gonna put the back bracket and the cooler ready, but we're not going to be installing the cooler because we'll have to get it into the case first, which is So for the cooler, we're going to be using the Lian Li Galahad 2 LCD SL ENF 360mm cooler. Okay, the fans are pre-installed. Now that's very nice. This cooler has a lot of different cables, but firstly, we're going to take this back bracket for the cooler. Gonna slide that in there, and then inside the thermal paste bag there are 4 washers. The good thing is you're gonna get extra thermal paste for new application. There is actually thermal paste installed as well. Push those washers down there. These washers are actually gonna keep the back bracket there, so if I lift up the motherboard up, it's not gonna fall off from the back when we put it inside the PC case. When you're installing this particular cooler, inside this case, you're gonna have to install this in the front. You can't put it on the top because the top only supports 240mm radiator. But I want a better cooler, so we can use the front in there. The back's off and the glass is off. Now here's the front. You just pull it from the bottom. The whole thing comes off. Behind here is a mesh for a dust filter. So if you want to clean it, it comes off easily. We're gonna take these out and we're gonna install our own fans. Now, you could just use a different cooler. If you've got an air cooler, these are pretty good included fans, but there's something extra that we're gonna do. If you see the way these fans are installed in here, if we would be putting this cooler in there with these beautiful side kind of infinity mirrors with the RGB in there, you're literally gonna just ruin the RGB effect. And even though I'm not a big fan of RGB, I think, you know, getting a tasteful RGB is always good. So we're actually gonna be taking these fans off this cooler and we're gonna be installing them as exhaust on the back of this case. For the actual fans that we will be using for this cooler are these Lian Li P28 Unifans. But I'll have to check if I can use them. Before I can do that, I'll have to remove the fans in there. And also very important, what I've seen some people make mistake online is this side panel here is very nice, but if you try to put your GPU in and things in, it's kind of awkward. This actually comes off as well. There's a little screw on the top there, just one. And if we just undo that, now this panel slides this way and then out, voila. And you've got more space to build in. Let's take those included fans off. Now, if you wanted to, you could still use these fans because you can put them in the top as an exhaust fans black. You're probably not going to see it as much as well. They're nicely exhausting from the top if you wanted to save a little bit of money of getting extra fans, or if you just want to get fans for, you know, the front or something like that. Or if you have a 360mm AIO, take these out from the front, have this in the front, you'll have intake from the front, and then you have some exhaust in there as well. The back fan is only 120mm compatible, so a fan that goes in the back here can be only the smaller one. Now, here's what I need to test in here, is if I can actually fit the 30, well, these are not 30 millimeters, these are 28 millimeter fans. They're a little bit thicker than normal fans. Whew. I am not sure if this is gonna fit because I'm not sure if you can see it from this angle. There is a little bit of a lip. So let's see if this goes in there. Ooh, it does actually go. That is really good news. So we can use them, which makes me think, can it tolerate extra 2 millimeters? Because these are 28 millimeters, but then these Phanteks T30s are 30 millimeters. So let's say we put these fans in there. Is this gonna close? Oh, I'm not so sure. It is actually gonna close. I mean, it is kind of tight, but it still works. Shall we use the Phanteks T30s? Yes, we're gonna use the Phanteks T30s. Because you're not actually gonna see any of the front there. So having these, you know, kind of gray fans is not as bad. Now, these are much nicer as well, but I think we could get even better with these Phanteks T30s. These come out together just like that. And by the way, we can't use these same screws for the radiator because the Phanteks T30s, they'll have to go in the front, through the fan, through the frame, onto the radiator, and these aren't long enough. These aren't even going through the fan because they're 5 millimeters longer. So here's what we would be measuring is, if the tubes would be down, would it fit? Let's say our radiator would be there. Would we fit in there? Yes, we would fit in there. But our GPU, is that gonna fit or not? Now, let's try that straight away. For the GPU, we're going to be using something special. This is the ProArt GPU lineup. And, you know, if you actually saw this over here, a little bit peeking out, you can see 16 gigs of, you know, memory. But then when I take the whole box out, you realize 4060 Ti. What on earth? That's an absolute scam. 4060 Ti was anyway 8 gigabytes at first. Why is this 16 gigabytes? And is this actually going to make a difference in performance? Well, that we're going to be tackling in a different video. But one of the main things about this GPU is it's beautiful. And they do 4070, 4070 Ti and 4080 all in this form factor. They all are exactly the same dimensions, exactly the same cooler. I can kind of fake a 4080 in here because of the 16 gigs of VRAM, but it's not. When you're getting this, most likely the 4060 Ti is not what you would want to actually get, because you're paying a lot more for something that, you know, isn't worth it. Although, if you do take consideration that because of this ProArt, you know, brand on this, you get 3 months for free. So this, you know, GPU will actually cost you $180 roughly less than a normal 4060 Ti would be. So if you're looking for a 4060 Ti and you're using Creative Cloud, there is a chance that this might actually make sense. But if you're getting this for a creator PC, I wouldn't actually recommend doing a 4060 Ti. I'd probably go with a 4070 Ti if you can, because that will have dual encoders in there. Now, let me just slot this in here and see how would it look like. That's very, very nice. But now our tubes have to fit over this. And would they? How would that feel? If you put them there, you see they don't fit in there, so they'll have to go on this side of the GPU, and we wouldn't see the ProArt logo. But let's see if we swapped this the other way. If we put the tubes up, how would you do it? Something like that. You could wrap those tubes around, but the pump is very much on the bottom, like the top of this cool AIO. So let's see if it goes somewhere like that. Well, the tubes are still higher than the pump. And perhaps we can, what else we can do? Yeah, we'll probably have to wrap them round just like that, but then that would cover a lot of the motherboard. I'm thinking we'll go the other way. Just try it. Let's put tubes down and then let's see if we can make it work. Okay, now when the radiator is stuck in there, we can install our GPU. Now, as you can see, there's only a tiny, maybe like an inch of space here until we reach the radiator, which means that you can put slightly bigger GPUs, but not that much bigger. Here's a 4090 TUF, and that would fit in there absolutely perfectly as well. It's very similar size. Now, what I'm curious about is this. So this is a Zotac RTX 1490, which is one of the longest 1490s actually, but it does have some gold accents on these fans, which would theoretically fit into our build. So let's see if the 4090 would fit if we had a front AIO. Nope. As you can see, definitely no chance. 4080 from ASUS would fit the Nocto version because it will be a bit shorter and longer. But just be careful when thinking and choosing the GPU for this build. In this configuration, we have about 32.5 millimeters for the GPU length to go here. But I do believe our Lian Li radiator is a bit thicker as well. So that's 30 millimeters thick rad. Because this GPU is so skinny, I don't see any sag or any sag issues that would be there. So next, I'll be putting the tubes down just like that for the cooler. Seems like it's gonna fit and it's gonna be all right there. Because my 14600K is used, I'll just do a little alcohol wipe on the top in there, and you can see on this white paper there how much actually some muck is in there. You might be saying, oh, you're gonna get all those little fibers onto the CPU. Well, not really, because after I've done that, what I'll do is take a microfiber cloth, something like that, and then just wipe all the fibers off, just making sure that our tubes are down. That's how it's gonna go there. We're gonna take the plastic cover off. Thermal paste is already installed, as you can see in there. I hope this is gonna be enough and it's gonna be good, because it's going down, doing a little wiggle wiggle to get it stand there. And where did I put the, yeah. We'll deal with these cables later, but what comes next is something more exciting. But look at that, it's all gonna look so good. And when we put these Lian Li fans in there as well, what will happen is that's gonna glow a little bit of inside there and we get a really nice look. Oh, this is gonna be so good. Oh man, I sound like Mark Wiens when eating something.
Oh wow. Oh yeah. Oh, that flavor is amazing.
Which makes me really hungry as well. So, I have some golden PSU cables here, and these are from Cable Mods. You can design them yourself and, you know, choose which ones you want and how you can get them. But some of these are quite custom made. So, for example, I've got the ATX power supply cable that's gonna go through there. Oh wow! Oh wow! Oh wow! Let me tell you this much. Does that look premium or what? There's another 6-pin PCIe power in there. And for that, I have another cable here. Then the top CPU powers are 8-pin and 4-pin. I have actually made this one here. I think this is from our X570 ProArt build. That's got quite a lot of views actually. That was one of the first videos that went kaboom on the channel in terms of PC builds. And there we use this one, but because they've used exactly the same connectors, so we're gonna try to get all of that in there as well. So they go through just about there. And make sure you put these cables in before you put any fans on the top there, because it's gonna make it very, very difficult. Well, that looks beautiful there as well. But then, because I thought I was gonna use or get the 4080 for this build, I actually ordered the 12-volt high power cables. And as you can see, I've got one that has 2 PCIe 8-pin headers on the other side. So if you have a power supply that has just 2 of these, you can put in this one there. Or I also have another cable here So this is the 12 volt high power cable on that side, but then on the other side we have 4 of these cables. They should have different power delivers, one 450 and one 600 if I'm not mistaken, but because our GPU here uses just 8-pin PCI cable, I don't have time now to get another 8-pin there. I have this dual 8-pin one that we also used for the X570 ProArt build. But this is 2 I built 8-pin, and what we're gonna do, and I realized they've actually left a bit of space here in the heatsink. There's just a hole in there for the secondary power connector that potentially can go there. So we can fake this, which you shouldn't do, but I'm doing, okay? We've plugged one in, and I'm just gonna slide the other one just underneath there. And if I put the combs right very close to these up there, you are not even gonna notice that anything is different, okay? Right? So that goes beautifully. Where should we put it down? From there or from there? Perhaps down there. Then it goes all directly straight down. That looks good. It's fake, but it looks good. Later on, we're gonna put Technotis logo there in gold as well. And then, oh, this is gonna look so beautiful. Now what I recommend to do is cable management, like plug in all the necessary cables for everything you need, and then install the fans last, because it's gonna get a little bit tight once your fans are there. You can't really plug everything in there. So we're gonna do that now. Okay, that is slightly annoying that if you don't want to use these fans on your AIO, there is actually no way to connect those fans separately. What I mean by that is everything that's in this kit for the AIO is just to use in an AIO configuration. So once you separate these fans, because Lian Li has got their own connectors here to connect those fans, as you can see, there's 6 pins that go into each other, and now all the fans, they share like the LED stuff and fan curves and everything. Once you take this fan off, there is no way to connect anything to this one, because all the cables that came with this AIO here, they are just for literally only for this. So now this fan becomes basically useless. I can't use it unless I buy a separate a fan or like a connector that can connect a cable between this cable and this fan. So I can put the single fan in the back, but it would connect to the top there. So that will be the only thing. What I might do right now is actually just leave the back empty, don't have any fans in there, but just have the intake from the front and then out from the top with just these 2 fans going there. So one more thing to do is the power supply. And for that, we're gonna be using this Be Quiet Dark Power 12 850 watt. But what's very special about this one is 80+ titanium, which means it's gonna be very efficient. And as a creator, if you're using the PC 24/7 and leaving it rendering for a long time, then having a PC that is very power efficient is absolutely amazing, because it will pay for itself in the end because of the energy prices. They're going up everywhere. So if you do want to save some money as a creator, then this is very nice. Now look at the design of this. This is so minimalistic, so nice. I mean, surely this is going to give us extra, you know, FPS, as the gamers might say. Now, I just realized I've got a B760 motherboard, which means that my motherboard might not even boast, because I've got a 14th gen in there, and because of the 14th gen I have to update the BIOS. It doesn't have BIOS flashback, so don't make that mistake either. But we'll see what happens. Maybe by some miracle it's gonna go through, but I doubt it. So the PC is built, and as you can see, it looks absolutely amazing. All the black and gold and this dark wood, it makes it look like it's channel themed. It's like all my channel theme, I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. If you want to pick out any of these parts, I'm going to leave the links in the description below. But a few things when you're building the PC, what maybe you should know, or some tips that I found while building this. Number one, the 14th gen is an interesting thing, because even though the BIOS should not support the 14th gen, because that version of the BIOS is quite old, like early in 2023, when 14th gen wasn't out and not even announced, nothing out there yet. But it actually just slots in and the BIOS just recognizes the 14th gen, voila, there it is. Which makes me think that the 14th gen really maybe isn't anything new. Well, surprise, surprise. And it's just kind of like a 13th gen, but the BIOS just pulls the information and sees 14600K, so that's what it is, even though it's kind of 13600Ks. We'll see in a moment how fast this is. Secondly, the AIO pump actually makes noise, and this is something that I haven't noticed with any of the other AIOs that we've tested on the channel, not as much as this one. And it seems like the pump noise goes a little bit quieter when I'm moving the tubes. Right now it's on idle, and the pump is actually on a curve as well, so it's not going full speed on a curve, but when we do the Cinebench test in a moment, then you can hear the pump a little bit more. I didn't recognize the noise on the performance version of this, because this is the Galahad 2, this is LCD version, but the performance version, I didn't notice that in there. So I'm not sure what's going on. Also, if you're getting this and the screen is not working for you, you might not have the USB-C properly plugged in. You have to press it quite hard until it clicks in and then it comes on. At first I thought, why is my screen not coming on? But that was the issue. Also, the screen and the pump design here looks really nice and minimal as well. Usually you'd have something like a weird shape as well. This is just a nice square block with little lights on the side that I've put to kind of circulate gold and yellow, as you can see, and this on the top there really makes it something special. And you can put anything in there. You can put a little video in there if you wanted to. You can go, and I'll show you in a moment what we can do on the Lian Li L Connect in there. And the last thing is, I didn't put any fans in the back, as you can see, and I'm quite liking the design. I'm not sure what you think, but this looks really good to me actually. That there's no fan in the back, we just get this nice kind of an open back and everything's lit in there. And the golden cables from Cable Mod, really nice feature there. So let's take a look how good is the cooler and if this actually works here. So let me adjust this down here. I've done the single core score, which is 116 on Cinebench 2024. Let's do the multi-core score. Can you hear the pump now? 203 watts. With i5 14600K. That's pretty insane. Can you hear the pump noise now? Look at that. We're pulling 200 watts there. With this CPU, the i5 14600K. That is pretty insane. I don't think we got that much actually when we tested the CPU. So this is earlier version of the BIOS, which actually pushes it much more than perhaps the later versions, and it's going to drop the wattage. I mean, the fans are doing great work in there. They're pushing a lot of air through there. You can feel the air being pushed through the radiators. There's quite a lot of airflow. And right now I've got a side panel open, so perhaps I'm actually ruining the airflow rather than pushing the airflow through there. Oh yeah, that's pulling a lot more power than it should. It's pulling 202, and I'm looking on the Z790 motherboard with the newer version of the BIOS. We were pulling 170 watts. So that's extra 47 watts, which is insane amount of power what we're pushing through there. Now I want to see if we're actually getting a higher result because of that. Okay, we're doing a 10-minute run then. Well, right now it's 1255. Let's have a look at the clock speeds. The P cores are going 5.3 and then 4 on the E cores. I'll just stop this to get a single core in. Let's do 1, just in here now, single one. 123, 172, 84 watt boosted there. 200 watts on i5. Let's take a look at the results. Really impressed with these Fantex T30 fans, how much air they actually push through the radiator. You can really feel the air going through the radiator. As you can see, our core temperatures are 68 on average. What's the peak here? 77, 79 with 200 watts pushing through. But seems like 200 watts for this AIO, completely fine. Look, under 80 degrees here. And there's 25.8 degrees in in this room. 1277, which is actually quite a bit lower than our 14600K. On the Z790 we got 1384. 13600K is 1347. 12700K is 1246. So we're getting roughly around 12700K performance. I'm going to show you how much updating the BIOS actually means in terms of performance. So I've got a new BIOS in here right now. So all we have to do now is restart, hit the delete button, there we go. Okay, here we are in the BIOS, and the BIOS version is 0203. And where is the date for this BIOS again? If I went to advanced, was this here? Yeah, BIOS version, and the build date is 3rd of March 2023. So that is definitely not the latest. So what we're gonna go here is do tool Asus Easy Flash here, and yep, so this one is my USB stick. ProArt B760 Creator cap. Do you want to read this file? As you can see, we're going from 0203 to 1501, which is quite a few versions. And now this is the 6th of October, so about 6 months later. I wish there was an option to keep the screen on even when the PC is not on Windows, because right now the screen is just, you know, the basic one. We don't have our logo in there, so it's pulling the data actually from Windows. Okay, as you can see, we are back in BIOS, and we've got the new BIOS version there, 1501. I'm going to put the XMP on. I'm going to go here. The XMP is not going to run at 6000 mega transfers per second. That is very optimistic. 5000, that's where we're going to put it. Advanced system, GPU, enable, and go. And now it's going to train the memory again. Interesting, I have to load the new ME firmware. So now it's not updating the BIOS, but it's loading the new ME firmware. So interestingly, it doesn't let you to go into Windows first before you do that. Just so you know, when you're freaking out, why is Windows not coming up? So you have to like press the same file again, the exact same file, like update the BIOS, but now it's putting the new firmware on, which is interesting. Okay, new BIOS, F1. Let's do them again. Here we are in Windows, and let's do exactly the same test. Multi-core, go. Let's take a look at this now. 190, 197, 199, a few watts less still. So interestingly, the B760 is actually pushing a bit more power through than the actual Z790 on this 14600K. Very interesting. So it looks like the BIOS change didn't do much on this one now, which I'm very surprised about actually. But now then, let's take a look how good is it in other applications. I've done the DaVinci Resolve Puget benchmark here, and this is the extended with DaVinci Resolve 18.6.3. So you can test it and compare it to your system. 2173 on the extended and 2463 on the standard overall score. The Fusion score, interestingly, is a little bit low, probably because of the 4060 Ti, but it's quite an alright score. Slightly on the lower side. I think the GPU could be a little bit better because DaVinci Resolve really likes to use all of this. Now, for Premiere Pro, this is a benchmark 1.0 from Puget Bench, and we're using Premiere Pro 24. You can see overall score 9127 and extended score 7174. So now, this is the new benchmark from Puget Bench. They have something called the Puget Bench for Creators, and you can download this app, then install your, Creative Cloud applications. Right now, Photoshop and Premiere Pro are available over there, and you literally can just do everything together in this one application without opening all the different apps, which is very, very nice. So I did them over here, and you can see that now they're finally version 1.0 benchmarks. After Effects, Lightroom, and DaVinci Resolve aren't available yet. It'll come here as well. But this is quite an alright score there. And because this is the new benchmark version, I can't really compare it if this is a good or not good score. So if you have done this with your system, let me know your scores in the comment section below, as well as some of the specs of your PC. I'd love to know how well this 14600K with the 4060 Ti performs. So let me know in the comment section below. Then on Photoshop, we got 7289 score. And now we have the general score and the filter score in there as well. Again, not sure how good this is. Let me know in the comment section below your scores and your specs. That would be awesome. And in After Effects, we got 1196 points. Multi-core is 166. This is actually very marginally slower than the 13600K with an RTX 3090. So that's interesting. Now, I know that this PC isn't particularly, awesome in terms of the specs, but we did some of these mistakes in specs on purpose. We should have had a much faster GPU. We should have one cable in here. We shouldn't have 14600K. We should have 13600K. Maybe we'll have a better motherboard as well. But one of the things I wouldn't change about this PC are the looks. Now you can get the same things, but just higher spec, same looks. That's what I would kind of get. And that's it. If you're wondering what are some of the best bang for buck creative PC parts, like in terms of the actual hardware that gives you performance, then check out the links in the description below for those builds. Now, if you want to change any of these to these over here, then feel free to do that. Apart from the 4090, it's probably not going to fit in there. Some of the 4080s will fit in there, so depending what GPU you're using, you might not be able to fit anything in there. That's about it. If you enjoy the t-shirt I'm wearing, you can see that just underneath the video. You'll probably notice it's somewhere over there. Different colors available, technodistro.com. And bye-bye.